Hot damn, what do you got? What, like 2 CDs? Good morning, people.
Got like 4 songs I got saved. All right.
How the hell is everybody this morning?
Doing pretty good over here. It is Thursday. Yeah, it is Thursday. It's weird this week, of course, because the holiday on the Monday. Garbage is messed up for us, so that makes the week weird. So,
I didn't even put my garbage out because I forgot.
is it screwed up for you? Don't they do your day late?
Yep.
Oh, you mean you forgot because of the thing?
Yeah, it slipped my mind. I knew I didn't put it out Monday, but Tuesday morning I just wasn't thinking about it, and I knew it was Tuesday, so I didn't put it out. And then I heard the garbage truck go by, and I'm like, crap.
Yeah, that'll happen to me tomorrow. I'll be thinking about it. I'll be like, oh, I'm tired, and I'll go to bed. All right. So,
since the daughter and kids have moved out, it's not like we generate, 20 bags of garbage a week. So,
yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at too. So I don't think about it every week, and then when it's full, like it is now, it's super annoying, and I forget about it for a week, right?
In fact, I just bagged up my trash from out here in the garage yesterday, and that's been from probably 2 weeks. I don't put much freaking trash in unless I get lots of shit sent in, and I got a lot of cardboard boxes. But the 2 people that aren't really eating here but one meal a day, we don't generate hardly any damn trash.
When I was a kid and I first moved out to Arizona, I was going to school, and I fancied myself a young hippie, and I was fairly new to being a vegan or whatever, trying to be. So, I was eating healthy or whatever. So anyway, I was not eating a lot of crap out of boxes, really, or out of packages. I was eating more real food and, just food that the garbage would be compost and not garbage. So anyway, the whole first year I went to school, I kept all my garbage pretty much. I mean, minus gross stuff, but as far as like just packaging and stuff that I threw away, I kept all that. And again, I was kind of fancying myself, going to school and everything. I thought maybe I could get some, I don't know, do some kind of project about that or something. But anyway, it didn't end up amounting to very much. Probably one like big garbage bag, like a 55-gallon drum or whatever, 5 gallons.
So
10
so
gallon
you hit that fork in the road where it's either go right and become normal or go left and become eco-Nazi.
No, it's tough. That's definitely one of those decisions. I mean, you're being funny, but yeah, I mean, it's tough when you get whenever anything political, right? There's always going to be times when you might have a position and it hits up. Whenever you start getting into wilderness areas and hunting stuff, that's where it's frustrating as a libertarian or somebody I'm typically going to default to the free individual for most stuff, but government has a purpose. And when it comes to shared resources like outdoors, and then you get the critters that are out there, if you consider the critters that are standing around on the shared public land, if you consider that part of the resource, then it gets really tough really fast, because then it's like military. You need to have a federal government, or at least it's useful to have a federal government to maintain like populations of a critter that might span different states or something. And if there's a million of the critters over in state 1 and there's only 10 of them in state 2, you don't want everybody in state 2 acting like the critters are about to go extinct. On the other hand, you don't want somebody in one state assuming they got them forever, and then we get situations like the buffalo or any of the other populations that we've been played a role in wiping out. Anyway, so yeah, it was a tough one when I was a kid, but I went right down the middle.
To circle back around to trash itself, if you go to pretty much any shooting range that's public land, the shooting community, there's a bunch of messy fuckers in it. people, clean the fuck up after yourself, for Christ's sake.
Oh, here's the thing. Have you ever, I mean, I have met shooters that are just jerks or whatever, people that are jerks and have guns, I guess you could say. They're not really shooters. Uh, but out here in Arizona, at least in Tucson, our issue, we're like in a basin. Tucson is on the highway, interstate. There's an interstate that goes north and south. There's a highway that goes north and south. There's an interstate that goes east and west, and they cross in the middle of 4 mountain ranges. So we're in a basin, kind of. Not really, but it kind of looks like it. And we have like 90% public land in Arizona, so there's very little private land. So it's mostly BLM and forest, a little bit of park, some reservations, which isn't anything, and then some other things, and then there's some state land in there, and then a couple of private issues. So when we talk about recreational shooting around the Tucson area, which is like Tucson and then the deserts around it, and then the foothills and the mountains, in this basin, we start dealing with, or we go head to head with 4-wheelers, people that drive around in those motorized 4-wheelers, people that drive around on bicycles now, like that's a whole thing, like off-road mountain biking. You got horseback riders, hunters. Hunters usually don't care about shooters. But you know what I'm saying? You start going through the list, geocachers, people that collect butterflies. There's a ton of migrating birds and bugs that go through this area. So we'll have a whole tourist season where people are out there collecting butterflies, monarch butterflies that migrate, other things that migrate. And bird watchers will come out. There's stuff that, because of the way the lakes are in Arizona, or the way that the water is, at least the migration patterns can be predicted, so they can stand in a couple of spots in Arizona and collect all kinds of interesting birds that they normally wouldn't get because they have to migrate, through the channels or corridors or something. So anyway, if we're going out there and shooting, allegedly that bothers them. So what I'm getting at is we had giant debates over the span of the time I've lived here in waves, like whatever you want to call them, like the onslaughts on the hunting ranges or whatever. And it was mostly the horseback riders for some reason, and the mountain bikers are the biggest jerks to us. Horseback riders, I think it must just be because those are old ladies that, for the most part, are old ladies that are just walking around their pet horses, So it's not like cowboys, which sometimes are jerks, but these are mostly just regular people walking their private horses around. They don't like the noise, I guess. And then mountain bikers are just jerks. So, I'm wondering how much of that is actual shooters and how much of that is one of the other outdoor activities that have unscrupulous people that, participants. And, if it's mountain biking or something, what the heck do they care? And then I'm wondering how often they don't just do stuff that's stupid, like bring a shotgun out there and blow it up at a shooting range. Bring some garbage out there with a shotgun and blow it up at a shooting range, so they could drive away and let the perception be that shooters have nothing else to do but then shit where we shoot. I mean, I think that's the reason I bring it up, is because it's kind of tender subject for us out here. How often is a shooter, somebody who likes to go shooting on weekends or every once in a while, going to go out to where they go and just leave it a freaking mess and then assume it's going to be there for them the next time? Like, I don't think there's too many of us that are that short-sighted or unaware of what's going on. So I really think there's some motivation behind that, because there's people that do not want shooting in this basin, and I think they'll go to any lengths to make us look like a bunch of yahoos, including shooting at signs, because there's signs that get shot at sometimes that just, I guess maybe that you could say it drunk, but then I don't think so.
Well, I'll tell you, here we just got a new cowboy action shooting station put in at my private range. I mean, it's a member only type range, but they will let people come in and shoot for a fee. So it's not completely exclusive. But that cowboy action range just opened this spring, and you can't hardly walk on it for the damn empty casings laying there. And our range is like, on the outside, we don't care if you pick up your grass or not. We'll just mow it. It'll go away. But I'm thinking that they're going to think twice about this because you can't walk down the boardwalk porch thing they built without stepping on freaking fistful of cases. And I've actually been thinking about seeing if I could go out there on Monday when they're closed and just kind of police the area a little bit.
Yeah, that's a tougher one. Shotgun shooters actually, I'm blaming FUDs. Just they're some of the worst culprits. And number one, they don't think they think their clays are made out of some biodegradable, you know, nothing. It's like, oh, I shot it, it's gone now. When I shot it, it broke up. Now it's gone. But I don't know if it was in this show or the other show, the Daily Gun Show, that we were looking at something from space. I think it was in the Daily Gun Show. We were looking at I found a place in San Antonio, Texas, which turns out to be the home of the American Trap Shooting Association's museum, and I think it's the home of their association, and it might be the International Trap Shooting, or maybe it was Skeet, I forget. But anyway, some like national shotgun shooting sport organization is housed right there in St. Louis or San Antonio, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be going over by San Antonio. I was looking at it on the map, and as I was looking at the map, just kind of thinking, oh, it's pretty neat to see such a large facility. Started to zoom out, and I noticed that the orange mounds or the orange piles in front of the shooting bays could be seen from space. Like you can, the accumulation. Now this place has been there since 1930, so it's had a long time to accumulate. But all that asphalt and the orange paint, it's just asphalt. It's tar and clay. So like having clay, it's all tarred up, and then just leaving it out in the desert.
Yeah, we have a spot like that at our range because we have a full trap range there too. But the trap throwers are set to throw them into the backstop. Or they do it by fucking accident, one or the other, because it's all covering the backstop and very little of it on the bottom. Which, the shooting station is up on top of kind of a hill where the gun range, the indoor range, and the gun shop and all that level, and then it drops down into a valley for, I think, Mackinac River, but I don't know which river. But it drops down into a valley, and that's where they built the gun range at. They just dug back into the side of that hill where it comes up out of the valley and put a shooting range there. But yeah, they used to let people shoot the clays at rifle targets or as rifle targets. You put them up against the bank and shoot them 300 yards away. They said that then, the clays got so much on there that people couldn't see the freaking orange targets anymore. They had to put a stop to it, clean all that shit up.
Yeah, one place I grew up was similar. They'd have to, just from us shooting at it all year, they'd have to go in and scrape stuff. It was just a smaller place, I guess.
I have no idea how much lead they put in the ground at this place.
Well, here in Tucson, we got a shot. What do you call it? A shotgun skeet. It's called. I think it's called Tucson Trap and Skeet. So Tucson Trap and Skeet is fairly big, and then a girl that lives in town. Well, other people as well, but there's an Olympic level shooting facility, and a girl that lived in town is at the Olympic level, and she shoots there because she lives here all the time. And others that live in Arizona will shoot there quite a bit. They have a pretty big facility up in Phoenix, but I think ours is older. And in any case, what was I getting at? That place is the same way.
Well, I have probably within a half an hour or 45-minute drive of me, I have several ranges. 4 or 5 that I can count from memory. but I'm only a member of the one, and I'm on the list to get to be a member of the another one that's closer to me. I gotta wait for somebody to die because they absolutely limit the number of people they let in. And if I ain't mistaken, I've been on the list to get in there since like '95. So it's no telling how many's before me on lists. You know, it's not like I was the next name. I just hope to get in there before I die.
Oh, that's what I was just trying to say before. That when that place that's out here, it's pretty big and it's Olympic level and everything, so it, you know, it's fairly sizable, and nothing like that one in Texas I was talking about, but about a third of that size. Anyway, they will close it down. I don't know how often anymore, but I know that when we were shooting out there more regularly, it got closed down at least once, where they'll go out with some sort of machine and suck all the lead off the ground. Probably a little different here than other places because it's sand and dirt, or less dirt, more sand. But they run some kind of vacuum cleaner looking, lawnmower looking thing that kind of goes out there, and because most of that lead shot is just sitting there, you know, just falls on the ground. So they just have to somehow collect it, and then I think they sell it right there, right? Don't they just, because it's most of the time it's not even that deformed?
Probably.
I think they just bag it, sell it right back to the shotgun people, and then they reload it. I think they call it something when they reload that stuff, or maybe they melt it all down. I guess I don't know, but I know I've seen the bags of it for sale.
It ain't there. That's something you ain't really gonna do at home. Is melt the lead down and make a shot out of it. I think
They might take the shot home as lead and then turn it into regular bullets, or slugs. Yeah, somebody might cast slugs out there.
I don't know what they're doing these days, but used to, and as far as I know, they still do, is they make it in shot towers where they pour molten lead onto basically a grid or screen type thing and let it drip through, and those drips are dropped far enough that they cool and solidify before they hit the bottom.
Oh, I thought they went into water. They go into just the air. Just fall apart.
There might be water at the bottom. I've never seen one.
Well, it makes more sense that it would just cool in the air, because if you hit water, you'd think it would misshape it, right? But if it's just falling for a length of time, it just might be a tower or something. They just let it fall like 6 feet and then just hits the ground.
Yeah, they used to call it shot towers, and they were like 50, 60 feet tall.
Oh, that tall? Oh, yeah. Then I bet you it's just air. Because then by the time a piece of lead hits the ground after all that, it's not hot anymore.
But I thought that was kind of interesting. And that may not be the way they do it these days. I have no idea.
I take mine because I care more. I'll take like a little tiny melon baller and then a big thing of lead, and then I'll peel off like each little shot and then hand roll it and then set it on a cookie sheet, like if I was all day making cookies.
You really need to get a life.
Well, that way I know each pellet is perfect. That way I had better luck at the shoot. Clay is saying he's seen a sign that says firearms cause wildfires. I see those all the time too, especially in the areas that well, now we kind of have to be told where to shoot. For a long time, well, forever, until just recently, people could shoot wherever they wanted, and they chose to shoot in the same kind of general areas because we're not jerks, and we know that we're leaving some kind of a scar there. So for the most part, pretty much without any kind of anything organized, just tradition and custom, everybody would shoot in the same couple of places around town. And in those areas, you'll see those signs. But I think that's okay. That makes sense. Like, some people are stupid. They don't think about it. And maybe that seeing that sign on the way out there makes them think, okay. But on the other hand, if they took that sign down, wouldn't care at all. But they'll only see a sign there to tell me cause wildfire. Because guess what else causes wildfire? Cigarettes. Guess what else? Mufflers or catalytic converters, right? Going out and dumping a bunch of gasoline as you're driving around. That causes wildfires probably. Horses. You don't pay attention, but when you're not riding them, horses stand around smoking. They don't care.
Yeah, you don't think that Marlboro ads were aimed at people, do you?
Yeah, exactly. That's
An
90%
equine
probably.
audience.
You get a guy, you get a cowboy's horse smoking Marlboros, then that guy's smoking Marlboros. It's just like the kids and the Happy Meals. They know what they're doing.
Damn straight. That's why Marlboros are $7 and change a pack now. Fucking horses. Oh shit.
So I went over to a friend of mine's got some things going on, and he gave me his old broken TV. So it's a big giant. I don't even know what kind because I don't care, but it's a giant flat piece of plastic that's a Fresnel lens. So he gave it to me because he knows I want that lens out of there. So that's one of my projects later on. Sneak a little time. I found one on the side of the road and asked the guy if it was okay if I pulled the lens off of it, and he didn't care. And I figured out it was super easy to take his lens off. Like it's made to come off, and it was in a frame, so like couldn't been any easier. I just sort of yanked on it and it came off, and I had it. I'm hoping this one's going to be that easy. Have you ever done that or seen the people playing with the giant Fresnel lenses off of TVs?
Nope. I was fixing to ask you what the hell's the point.
Okay, so you know Fresnel lens, they just take a magnifying glass and slice it into rings and then smush it all together, get rid of the middle. So now it's a thin thing with those ridges, and it looks kind of like a fingerprint, except made out of clear plastic, and it's a magnifying glass. So it's a magnifying glass that has no depth. And that's what they put on the front of some TVs. Some TVs, it's different. Some TVs, it's designed to distribute, like if you had a flashlight, you had that dark spot in the middle. Some of them are trying to distribute that dark spot, and some of them are, I think, are trying to focus that dark spot away. And I don't know. That's just what I think. But there's two different kinds of lenses, and you really don't know until you take it apart, I guess. Maybe you can look at it. But when it's a dead TV, it's easy enough to just take it apart. But anyhow, I have a kind of a, I guess you call it the stand from a chalkboard. So imagine like a freestanding chalkboard in a classroom. I used to do a bunch of school auctions, so I had this chalkboard, and it was just sitting in my backyard being garbage. But then I got this lens, and it has this metal frame around it so that it can fit on the front of the TV. I didn't have a whiteboard or a chalkboard in that stand anyway. It was just the stand. I kept it because it was decent amount of aluminum, and I figured if nothing else, I'll keep the aluminum. But if I ever have a project, I can slice a chunk off of that extruded aluminum stand, right? And anyway, so I had this stand. I put the TV lens in there, which now gave me the ability to have it like pivot. And then I could just angle it around however I wanted. And now I had basically 3 dimensions of pivot. I can take an aluminum can. Once I put that thing up there in the sun, it'll focus the sun down to a dot that's about the size of the top of an aluminum can. It won't get any more focus than that, but you can't put your hand in there. I mean, it would hurt you a lot if you put your hand in there. If I put a aluminum can into that spot, it immediately blisters the paint and starts to, like the paint smokes away as if you threw it into like a blowtorch. So my goal is to get to where I'm melting pennies and aluminum with the sun with just a lens. So I wasn't able to do it before, but I also spent like I don't know, half an hour doing it. I didn't spend very much time at all playing with it. It's not a big priority or anything. But yeah, that's a story of yesterday, and now I got to go drag the TV out of my van, and then eventually take the lens out of it.
What's the melt point of aluminum? A couple thousand degrees?
Oh, I forget. It's a little hotter than lead, but not anywhere near steel. Patriots saying I have a death ray. That's the thing. People buy these things and they stick them in their garages, and then the light gets in the garage, and it's just that right time of that right day at that whatever, and then boom, their garage burns down. So I do, and I noticed that too. I can put it in in direct sun, and I can get that focus beam down to like size of the top of a soda can, like size of your fist, and it gets super hot, right? But one time I was out there looking for a bolt or something. I was fucking with the van, and I moved that, and I just had that thing laying there. I just had it laying there, and there's a skylight in the garage that's all dirty and shit because I never clean it. So like, you know, birds and cats and stuff have gone up and pooped on it probably, and it's just all gross. So it's not like the best skylight ever. It's just to give me a little bit of light so I don't have to turn a light switch on. And just that, even that shitty, imagine a really shitty, dirty skylight with just enough light to keep the room lit instead of having to turn a light on. is enough that when I was leaning over that thing to reach the thing of screws and stuff, I could feel warmth, like it was warming up the stuff around it. So I immediately moved it into the behind the wash machine with a towel over it. So yeah, it's crazy how even though it can make a spot that's super hot, even if it's not trying to make a spot, it'll gather heat. It's crazy when you get that much when you focus that much light, gather that much light and focus it, how much heat you can get. It wasn't anywhere near actually to start anything. It was just I didn't want to have to leave it there and have it be a 1 in a million chance to come home to a burnt down house.
Sounds like that could be used to enhance solar power.
I thought about it, but I'm not sure. I think maybe with I used to do AC stuff, so I'm all about welding up a bunch of copper. If I can get copper cheap enough anymore, but like some sort of a metal ball, and then you put maybe a saline solution in there, and you do sort of that kind of thing somehow. So instead of maybe trying to do photovoltaic solar, do some sort of a heat differential solar where you use that heat and you collect it for some reason, maybe from the loss of heat. You take energy from the loss of heat somewhere else. I don't know. And then I was thinking about in the winter, this is again back when I was trying to be a hippie when I was a little young kid. One of the ways to save heat is to throw it underground in a big salt bath. I don't know if you ever played around with that or if that's a southern thing, but they'll just dig a deep hole and put a bunch of salt water down there, run pipes through it with some other kind of salt water. And then you could do something like that, have like a thing that focused heat onto something that collected the heat and then somehow pumped it down into your heat collector in the ground. And you basically make a big thermos underground, like a big underground swimming pool of salt. And I think it's salt, maybe it's some other material. And then you make that like a thermos so that you can get it hotter than it would normally be. And then ideally you heat that up all summer with your solar and whatnot. And then all winter you're collecting that heat back out. And then you spend your summer throwing the heat down again. So I would think maybe more like something like that, or like a solar hot water heater. That summed it up with that. Heat water and then wash and heat a pool or something with that kind of. Because I think that it focuses the beam. I don't know of any photovoltaic that'll be more effective as it gets hotter.
Yeah, you may have a point there. The geothermal is a big thing here. There's lots of people that have geothermal put in, and most of them either dig trenches in their yard to bury piping or dig a kind of 12, 14 inch, 16 inch maybe diameter hole, like drilling a well down.
Yeah, it's like drilling a well, but wider, huh?
And just, yeah, run pipes down in there and uplink the pipe that the ground heats it. Because the ground down there is always like 55 degrees.
It's like, yeah, it's like 70 something, I think. But yeah, like it's a super consistent temperature, especially up where you are. So if you could pull that temperature under the permafrost up to your house, then that's going to be super warm compared to the outside temperature.
Right, and that's what the heat exchangers do. They pull that heat up by circulating water through there, and then there's a evaporator coil type thingy in the furnace on the fresh air side, so it's drawing. But it strikes me as once the house is warm, it seems like that would cool it off. You know, if it's 55 degrees.
I'm trying to remember my solar days, but I thought that was the point. You'd have like a big thing of material that you'd spend your time heating it all winter or summer, and then as you were heating it, you were pulling heat from your home.
Well, see, these weren't heating it; they were just pulling ground temperature water out. There's no solar side to it; it's just geothermal from the ground. So they're pulling up water that's in the 50s area temperature-wise, and they're using that to regulate the temperature of the incoming air in the furnace.
Oh, preheating it. Yeah.
Right, but once your house gets up to above what that water coming into that evaporator coil is, it would tend to cool it down. I guess it makes the thing run more evenly. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like having a giant heat sink that's on your side, right? So that you're using your, I guess, property underneath your land to be useful.
I know that it works. I mean, as far as being uh, energy efficient, I know that they save money. I've had enough people tell me that they did it and they saved substantial amount of money, but I just seems to me kind of odd that it works as well as they say it does. You know, it's not like your furnace is drawing air from the outside in to cool it or heat up. It's drawing air from the house. And once that house gets warmer than that coil will be back to cooling it down. I got a couple of guys around here that's got them freestanding wood burner contraptions outside their yard that runs water. It heats water up and pumps that into the house. Those work really well too, but you best be friendly with the damn chainsaw. Back when I was a kid, I used to cut firewood to make money, and the guy that has had this freestanding wood burner for so long, for the longest here, uh, asked for specifically cut wood. He wanted wood that was cut to 4 foot lengths because that's how big the firebox was in his wood burner. And I'm like, yeah, I'll cut it to 4 foot lengths if you want, but it's going to cost you more money to get it because I have to stack it differently in the truck, and you'll get a lot more wood than you would normally, I think. He was fine with that. I wasn't charging that much anyway.
Interesting. So I'm reading this now because it got me curious. So I can and trying to remember, it's all foggy or whatever. So I guess you take either concrete, paraffin wax, or water. Paraffin wax is the best, but it costs the most. But it can hold. Anyway, you phase change it, so it's using the phase change in that. What do they call it? The latent heat. So phase changes kind of can be interesting. They can have a lot of energy when you go from liquid, when you change state from liquid to gas, or I mean from liquid to solid and liquid to gas. So I guess think of a giant lava lamp underneath your house, like a giant wad of paraffin wax, where it's gonna retain a bunch of heat in the center, and it's going to get cooler on the outsides. And you put solar panels and stuff up on your roof, that heats the center of your big uh, uh, lava lamp underneath your house, and then you're pulling either heat from the center in the winter, or you're pulling cool from the outside, and you're using that latent energy in the phase change. So imagine a giant thing of wax that's being heated in the center, and at the outside it's cold or cooling. So you're able to take advantage of that, and you have what they call a smart manifold, which is a bunch of pipes going down into your wax that'll run saline, water, a saltwater solution through the piping, which is suspended in your paraffin wax, so or your water or a concrete mass, and you insulate that like a giant thermos underneath of a house. And yeah, it's a way to have a thermal heat battery.
Hell, I never thought about that. They may pour concrete down in the holes when they're putting the geothermal in here. I've never actually watched it be done, but
It sounds like concrete is a decent one. It's not quite as efficient as water, but if you got freezing, then it would be better than water. And it's cheap.
I don't know. We had one guy here back in the 70s when solar first started coming onto public market. This guy put a solar water heater on his roof, which basically was like four, uh, probably 4 foot, 2 foot by 4 foot panels of, well, they look like troughs, water troughs, with glass on top of them. And these things are sealed, and they'll run into his water system, and they would use the sun to heat the water before it went into his house hot water heater.
Yeah.
And he said in the summertime, his water heater never comes on.
Nope. Exactly. Solar preheaters are super simple. You can literally just take an old hot water heater and paint it black and put it on your roof. Like that'll work if you got enough roof to handle that. Otherwise, they do like what you're talking about, and they basically just put a series of copper pipe, paint them black, put them underneath glass, and if they're really fancy, they'll put a parabolic mirror behind the pipe, and then run that on the roof. And
But he says that, I'm thinking you got to get up there and sweep the snow off and shit. And he said, no, they stay warm enough that they don't ever get snow or ice on them.
well, that's kind of a benefit too. Yeah, in the winter, they're keeping your roof from collecting snow. People preheat a pool that way, and the same thing. If you at some point you got to turn it off because it makes your pool too hot.
I don't know, man. I've seen many different ways people tried to save money back in the 80s because times were so fucking tough and depressed here. You know, we probably had upper teens percents in unemployment back then. Lots of people burned firewood, which is, I want to put a fireplace in here, but I think I'm going to put a natural gas one in because I don't want the mess of firewood. Firewood's nasty shit to work with. The guys that put them freestanding wood burners out in their yard, that's a little better, but that's an expensive proposition. I've made a number of wood burning stoves. I would do it for people who asked, make a few bucks. Pretty easy to do with 55-gallon barrel. And you put a 30-gallon one on top of it as a, basically you're using it as a big heat soak, but people could try to heat their houses that way, but I ain't. I cut the shit, and I lived in a house that was heated by wood for about 6 months, and I'm like, fuck this, I ain't doing this. And I have not had any inkling of ever trying to heat with wood. I mean, granted, if it comes to it, and the world goes to tits up and there's no more natural gas or electricity here, I'll do something like that, but I don't want to.
Problem with the wood is it doesn't grow back fast enough.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of it. It's astounding the amount of wood we process for lumber. And there is one variety of poplar that they advertise as growing your own firewood. Now, I planted some of these trees, and they weren't that fast, but it'd take them about 5 years to get to where you can harvest them and make it worthwhile. Willow is another one. But these soft woods don't give off a lot of heat, so you have to use more. Everything like that's a friggin' trade-off.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, if you, depending on what the plant is or the tree is, you figure out how much you're going to need for your house for a year. And you're saying if it takes 5 years, so you probably have to have 6 spots for them, and then have some sort of some kind of rotation or system where you use this much this year, and then you leave that and you plant it, and then you use the next chunk the next year, and then by the time you get to all the first one's growing up again.
You'd most likely have to cut these in winter and stack them and dry them till the next winter.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd have to have a massive system going, and that's just to heat one house, and that would probably be more acreage than most farms are going to have wooded anyway. You know, farm needs land to be farmed.
Yeah. I dread the day that we're forced off of natural gas or electric. Hopefully, I'm dead before that happens.
It's one of those things where people are like, "Oh, I'm going to prep by having a log splitter." Like, okay, great. I don't know how far you plan on driving for wood, but it's going to, just like deers and fish and everything else. Once there's no management at all and everyone's looking to that as our only source of heat or food, it's gone in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's not too big of an issue here, I don't think.
I mean, in the horrible, after the, what is it, cataclysmic event or something, as long as the houses didn't get destroyed by a nuclear bomb or something, we can start ripping apart houses and burning them down now. Plenty of wood. I mean, the wood didn't all disappear. It just got turned into stuff, right?
Exactly. And, you can always go to coal. There's reserves of coal around. We have a coal cellar here.
I was a big fan of coal, but Hillary really wised me up on coal, so now I'm against coal. Hillary.
Well, I'm against freezing to death, so.
So they're having, I don't know how this happens, but they're having some kind of Jell-O versus pudding debate on the YouTube side. That's what happens on the YouTube side. Well, midnight's out there.
Jell-O versus pudding?
Yeah, Jell-O pudding.
Straight Jell-O pudding, it's going to be pudding every time, but you mix Cool Whip in with Jell-O and make it like a Jell-O fluff.
Yeah.
And I'll take that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm hashtag never Jell-O. So I've never liked Jell-O much, and I'm not a big fan of pudding either. I don't like those kind of things. If you're like a baby, or if you're super old, or if you don't have teeth, I can understand it. But I'm not a big fan. So I'm going to go pudding, though, for sure, because you can get chocolate pudding. There's no such thing as chocolate Jell-O. That's another reason Jell-O shouldn't even exist.
I don't much like chocolate, except for bittersweet or dark chocolate. But
we can still be friends, but I'll hang out with knives more.
That chocolate vanilla zebra pudding is very tolerable.
I don't know what that is. You make chocolate and then you make vanilla and then you don't really mix them together and just swirl them?
Actually, they come out of Jell-O plant that way in the little containers.
Oh, okay.
They'll have vanilla and chocolate the same thing, but not really mixed together, but they're swirled together. Those are all right because I love vanilla. I love vanilla in about anything. Back when they offered vanilla Pepsi, man, I was on that. I love that shit. Probably why I'm a diabetic now. But vanilla is my pick of flavors. Like for ice cream, I like stuff in it, but I want vanilla ice cream. Butter pecan's fine too.
Somebody in my family liked butter pecan, and I never liked it a lot, but I can understand it, I guess. I'm not a fan of like just going into a place and ordering vanilla. It's like root beer. Like every once in a while that works for you, but most of the time you get a dud. I feel like because I can understand like a really good vanilla where they really put effort into making a vanilla like good and blow your mind. But like you're saying, like if it's just like the base coat or the base material for like some kind of sundae or whatever, then it's usually just kind of boring vanilla. I don't have any interest in eating a boring vanilla.
I'll eat the boring vanilla if they've coated it with enough caramel.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying. If you're into the toppings and stuff, then yeah, the ice cream is just to keep the toppings cold and then way to spoon them into your mouth, right?
I haven't had a sundae in. Well, now wait a minute. I did have a sundae in the hospital. One of the little cups. They send it to you, and it was superb at the time because I hadn't eaten anything for a little over a day, and I was finished. And of course, I ate that first.
They have to, because if they're going to give it to you at the same time as your food, they're basically telling you to. Otherwise, it's not going to. It'll just be a bowl of milk that you're done.
Right. Yeah. And this was strawberry, which is one of my lesser favorite toppings. Now, I love strawberries, but most strawberry toppings suck. Too much sugar.
Well, I don't know. I think
How the fuck we get on ice cream?
you had to do that back in the old days because to keep the strawberries around after, so they didn't go into turn into some kind of fermented or whatever, right? So you'd have to can them or whatever. So I can understand that. And then if you're doing that, somebody was good at it and somebody wasn't. So somebody figured out how to make it, better or whatever. But nowadays, I think it's more like a way to get to use up all those gross strawberries. So I figured the strawberries that are in something like that are gross. So I'm with you. Like those aren't the good strawberries going in there.
Well, the
No,
good strawberries, like you buy in them baskets, I think are hand picked.
no, yeah, but I'm talking like in a jam or some kind of jelly or something. Like that's just the ones nobody wanted kind of strawberries. Unless your grandma's making it or your Aunt Ethel or something, then she's going out and hand picking strawberries and then making jellies out of it. You know what I'm saying? If it's a jelly made out of a strawberry, it's like 90% white insides. I think it'd be good jelly.
I honestly think that when I started making pecan pie, I figured out how to make caramel at home because the mixture that goes into pecan pie is basically caramel with eggs in it.
Isn't caramel just taking sugar and putting it in a pan and not letting it really burn?
That's caramelizing. Caramel is sugar and milk, or brown sugar and milk.
Oh, there's more to it. I
And
thought it was just melting sugar down.
there's vanilla in it, or at least in this filling there was. And it tasted just freaking like caramels that you buy. Again, why I'm diabetic. I would, if I had caramel here, I'd eat the whole damn package of it, no matter what it was, or at least I'd eat until I was sick. I love caramel.
You a fan of the caramel apples then?
Uh, I used to be. I can't hardly eat them anymore because I don't have any front teeth.
I'm okay with a caramel apple most of the time, but I do not like that kind where it's like candy on the outside of an apple. It's not really a caramel apple anymore, but you know what I'm talking about, where they dip it in some kind of hot sugar kind of candy, and then it comes out, and you have to. It's like eating a lollipop almost.
We used to have a lady around here when I was younger that made caramel apples at home and set them out for Halloween, and that's what she'd give out. And those were really good because, I mean, this lady went and hand picked her apples and made it. We also had somebody give out popcorn balls, which I have never found another one that was as good as the ones this lady made. I wish I'd had the foresight to get the recipe for that. Of course, I was, 10, 12 years old at the time. So,
Yeah, well, it's probably pretty obvious. It's probably like, popcorn, like soaked in lard and then like butter, and then like somehow they also put salt on it.
no, it's something like popcorn dipped in thinned caramel, but it's not caramel, it's candy of some sort.
Well, out here they have these things next to fairs or on the side of the road. Sometimes it's just a giant wok, and then they kind of do they shake it? No, they don't shake it. The wok is sitting there permanent, and then they pour some kind of sugary liquid in there with the popcorn once it's made into popcorn, and then stir it with like a big metal boat oar, and then they pour it in there. It turns into popcorn pretty quick. They do that part at the end, and then they pull it out. So it doesn't, they do it constantly, so it doesn't take very long. So it's got to be a pretty easy process if you got the machine. I imagine in a house is the trick, right? When you're trying to do it in regular pots and pans on a stove.
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know anybody that ever made them.
I know this lady turned out hundreds of them for Halloween. But
yeah, exactly. That's why I'm thinking they can't be too tough, unless maybe they had some sort of a big setup. Maybe they had a big wok for doing that or for doing something else, and that allowed them to do that easy.
She could have done it over the course of a few days too.
Ozzy's saying melted marshmallow. Yeah, that's right.
That may be. I don't know. But
pudding pops? Patrick is saying, what about pudding pops? Come on, I'll turn it into a food chat. But I don't like pudding pops. They're not refreshing.
I ain't a fan either. If I want something like that on a stick, I want freaking chocolate covered vanilla ice cream dip thingy or something like that.
You ever eat bananas dipped in ice cream that are cold? They're not bananas dipped in chocolate that are cold?
No, because I ain't a big fan of bananas or chocolate.
Yeah.
I like them in a banana split.
I don't like banana splits either, but yeah, I don't like that. Eating a cold banana never appealed to me.
But when I have a banana split, I don't get it made with the typical ingredients. I get 1 serving of chocolate, 2 servings of caramel on my ice cream. Fuck that strawberry and pineapple shit. Or I used to, I should say. I haven't had one in many, many years.
I don't know how the hell we spun off it today. Did you get any emails? I gotta wrap it up at some point. I've got an obligation here this morning.
I got one. I want to get 2. So I can get it to open. Of course, I remember that I got it, but I can't remember what it was about or to be able to talk shit.
I'm gonna go look at the main page while you're getting that. I just put up a poll for anybody that wants to vote on Jell-O versus pudding, and right now we got even votes over there. Last night I didn't go to sleep. Instead, I stayed up and played with this. One of the things I've been doing is those cartoons for the 2A history project, and I'm a more visual than words, right? So I like to see stuff. It helps me to see things with spatially arranged as opposed to just in a timeline on a piece of paper and words. Anyway, so it's one of the things I wanted to accomplish with those cartoons. And I sort of did a preliminary sketch here last night while we were in, I think Gizzard ran the chat last night. He ran a late night chat. And we're all in there farting around. And this is sort of what I wanted to do. It's not done yet. I want to, now that I've at least got it here, I started out just doing the cartoons. I had them kind of like in just a big pile. So I started to move them around here to get them to where they have some kind of relationship with each other. But some of them are obvious, like the Citizens Committee Keep and Bear Arms was created by Alan Gottlieb before he created the Second Amendment Foundation, so that kind of makes sense. But the guys from the NRA technically are associated with each other, even though they don't really have anything other than the NRA in common. But there's NRA guys from back in the day, and then the guys from the 77 Cincinnati Revolt, and then the modern people. I'm thinking if I put NRA on the same side, it might be more consistent.
Is that the one that Knox was involved with?
Yeah, this is Knox, and this is Harlan, and these are the guys that were in charge. Well, they were the guys that brought the new regime in 77 and then ran it for a bit, had fights with each other. It's a big, complicated thing, like a lot of stuff. But yeah, these are the guys that did it in 77 and in regards to the 68 Gun Control Act. So it took them from 68 to 77. It took them almost 10 years to get their shit together after that. So shouldn't feel too bad, but it's taken us a minute to rally the troops about this one. It wasn't anything like the 1968 Gun Control Act, but yeah, anyway. So anyway, I was playing with that, so I don't know, just kind of killing time while Tony's looking for his article there. I think these infographics are useful. Oh, it got cut out. All right, so I'm planning on adding stuff to it. And again, I don't want to make it too complicated, but this is I'm only able to steal a couple hours here and there to work on it. So anyway, that's that. And I was giving Tony a time to look for his thing, and he's having issues with being the last day of the month with his data plan, I think. Yeah, Patriots got a good point. It would be tough to fill a swimming pool with pudding pops while they're still frozen. I mean, eventually you'd have a pool of pudding. All right, well, we've got 13 people watching. Like I say, I probably should be already leaving for where I'm supposed to be going. So unless Tony jumps in the next moment or two, I think I'll wrap it up. And at least you got something today. It wasn't all that long or interesting. We talked about food for a good chunk of it, and then solar power, and I don't even know if we talked about a gun today. But that's what's going to happen sometimes when you do it live. And there he is.
Sorry about that. Had to reboot my damn phone.
Were you able to find the article that you were looking for?
Nope, and that's why I had to reboot my phone. But I'll try again now.
Good.
It is from Early Watch, California.
Barely heard you. This is from California?
Yeah, California is wanting to raise the age to buy rifles and shotguns to 21 is basically what it is. Evidently, the Senate has passed that, so I don't know. I can't get it to open. Sorry.
I don't remember Knive saying anything about that, but those guys are constantly hit by stuff. He might have said something. I know he posted 2 things yesterday on the main page. One of them was a link to something legal related. We after the show yesterday, somebody posted something about Illinois. Did you hear the discouraging news that stupid bill about well, the one that Rock River Arms and or Rock Island Armory? No, wait. Yeah, Rock River Arms and Springfield and created and pushed through to put a burden on gun shops, and then, according to the newspapers, potentially create a situation where the state police would be authorized to do gun registration. That passed your Senate. Oh, it went from your Senate to your House. It must have gone from your House to your Senate, and now it's going back to your House. So that's frustrating that it's even still in existence, but keep aware of over there.
Well, it's been in existence for many years.
Yeah, since that whole commotion, and probably before that.
Well, it was long before that. The Rock River Arms and Springfield Armory what they did was they got in there and carved out a uh, little protection themselves. Was pretty much what everybody was up in arms about. They would be exempt from some of this stuff, where as your local gun shop would be burdened by undue bullshit. I don't know. Our governor's starting to. What he did was, when it came to his desk, he uh, did an mandatory veto on it, and he added the death penalty to it and sent it back to him. And last I checked, they were trying to do the death penalty by itself. So we'll see what happens with it.
I wasn't hearing all of that, but like the death penalty for these gun shops that don't comply with the new regulations, that's pretty harsh.
No, just the death penalty in general.
Oh.
Because we don't have it here.
What? Well, you did have it.
We did, but then Governor Quinn said no more.
Oh, good. I'm not a big fan of death penalty. In fact, I'm against death penalty. I don't like giving a state that kind of authority. Ridiculous. And if it stopped murders, that'd be one thing, but same as gun laws and drug laws and everything else. You have laws against murder, people still murder each other.
I believe that they're putting death penalty on like mass shooters and terrorists and that sort of thing. Just want to do it on regular guys committing atrocious crimes.
Yeah, but that's what they want. So I'm more like, make them deal with it for a long, long time. It might be considered cruel and unusual, but so is death penalty. So at some point, you're dealing with stuff that nobody wants to deal with, and you're making a state impose its will. But if you're really looking for the word, like a reason to not do it, it's a damn word, discouragement. No, there's a better word for it. But if you're really looking to, I can't think of the word, stop it from happening. Don't make it like, oh yeah, just check out. Like the state will make sure that you get checked out. Like it's usually some painless, efficient way. No, I'm not about hacking them to death with horses or nothing. But if the penalty was the rest of your life in servitude to the state that you screwed with, then that might be less attractive if they knew they're going to be toiling miserably and alone for the rest of a freaking very long life. That is way worse discouragement. Is that the word? And then if it's a mistake, like, oh crap, we just figured out, like now we have retro DNA ability, we can figure things out. You'd be like, hey, sorry guy, you had a horrible punishment here, but you're still alive. You can walk out. Here's a couple of bucks or something. Too many people get killed that they figure out after the fact, like, oh, that was a corrupt judge or a corrupt cop or a corrupt something, and that went through, and it was before there was DNA or something, or even when there was DNA. So I don't like cop cameras. It's probably too late in the show to get into all that stuff, but I could have a debate anytime with somebody on that stuff.
My reason for being in favor of the death penalty is I don't want to support these bastards for years and years and years.
Yeah, I hear you. That's one of the big go-tos for it, but come on. Look, we spent $9 million painting the hallways of a hospital.
What we need to do is get us a Britain plan where we find us a continent like Australia to dump these fuckers on.
Yeah, Florida. Florida is just a appendage that looks too much like a penis. Shouldn't even be allowing families to live on it anyway.
No shit, we could just dig a moat across the top of that son bitch and
cut it right off. It'd float away, then we'd lose it. We need all them oranges, and we got a Disney something on there.
We're really going to need them oranges if California succeeds.
People like Gelsma, they're always out there trying to catch the sharks. They need to stand out on the peninsula of Florida in order to catch them sharks out in the water.
Shit, I don't know. There ain't a great solution for the problem of crime in any way you go about it. I mean,
all right.
You can't be 100% certain somebody's guilty unless you were there to witness it. You don't want to.
Well, sometimes open and shut, you know. I mean, but on the other hand, I don't know. That's a whole other topic. But I do got to get going. I was just telling them as you cut out there before that I was about to wrap it up and then jump back. But if you don't have that article, let's save it till tomorrow. And then I'm going to try to jump on whatever time we started today. Was it a better time? So I think you were saying you'd rather, are you just as amenable to doing it an hour early? I didn't hear any feedback from anybody about doing it, you know, against doing it an hour early. Except for Dana brought up a point that if Knives isn't up and doing his thing, there might be a little gap there. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to jump out, but Dana brought up a couple of things over on the YouTube side. For some reason, he's chatting on both sides. He said, what kind of milsurp pack is neck size smaller than a rucksack? I cannot stop myself from filling up a rucksack to the max, so I need a smaller pack. That makes sense. But in the military, I don't know if there really is an issued thing that's between the backpack and like something on your like a pouch, at least anything that's issued. So that might be tough if you're looking for something milsurp. But one of the things, well, there's lots of things to look into. So I think I'll just end it with we can talk about that tomorrow or in a whole separate chat if you want to talk about backpacks. I bet you we could get a couple of people together who's got some experience with using packs in real life and get some insight. I'm a big fan of them that are about medium size and for the same reasons, so that you don't have a bunch of extra, the kitchen sink, you know, extra stuff.
I do have a couple of surplus military packs here, backpacks. I got to dig them out because I started using them to tote shit to the range instead of a bag.
Yeah, I mean, bulletproof and super strong, super sturdy.
A lot easier to carry, too.
Clay has a link for you over on the gun channel side, though, Dano. And let's see if we got Knives awake yet. Nope, no Torteno. So we'll leave you hanging here for a bit. Looks like Jello somehow pulled it off with 2 votes. I voted for no soft desserts, and then somebody voted for pudding. Jello got 2 votes, so that tells me a lot about the audience out here. Getting to know the audience, now I know you're a bunch of Jello eaters. It's all right, we'll all be friends.
I think a lot of people are getting scared of pudding because of the whole Bill Cosby thing.
Oh, snap. I didn't even think about the rapist connotation to pudding. True. It is the dessert of rapists. All right. Well, that's playing around with some crazy shit at the end of the show. Why don't we say thanks to everybody, and I'll leave Tony to wrap it
up. That's going to be simple as hell. You want to get in contact with me with show ideas, stuff you think I might be interested in, just say hello. Contact me at earlywatchil@gmail.com. That's earlywatch, IL as in the abbreviation of Illinois, all lowercase, at gmail.com. And good day, everybody.
Making pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes.